Princess Cruise Line's brand new ship, the Star Princess, it's actually being built right now over in Italy. Well, there was a stabbing on board. We've just got word that Disney Cruise Line is raising their fees again. And Carnival states there's just some things you shouldn't or can't do on the balcony. Norwegian Cruise Line will offer free Wi-Fi, but it's only for certain guests. Carnival Cruise Line is making a change to their age policy. It's a restriction that's also going to make changes to the drink package. And one cruise line sent shockwaves throughout the entire cruise when they walked out in these outfits. All this and more, let's swan dive right into it. Hello, everyone. It's Cynthia, your host. Welcome back to today's show. Well, today I have 5 cruise news stories for you. And as we continue and they progress on, truth is really stranger than fiction. You can't make this stuff up. So why don't we just dive right into it? Our first story takes us over to Disney Cruise Lines. Cruisers, we know that raising prices, it happens aboard our cruise ship. And Disney, well, they're raising the price of gratuities again. Now, say what you want, Disney Cruise Line is usually considered a premium cruise line and typically costs more than their competitors, such as Royal Caribbean or Carnival Cruise Line. But the one thing that Disney has remained pretty consistent on is their onboard gratuities, the tips or fees that we pay to the staff on board. They're usually a little bit lower than other cruise lines. Most Disney fans say the price is well worth it. There's just certain things that you get on a Disney cruise that you can't get anywhere else. One of the things, and we've talked about this before, they're the only cruise lines that are allowed to have fireworks at sea. And of course, they offer that brand and distinction of Disney characters and Disney movies, that Disney meet and greet that no other cruise line has as well. So they're considered premium, and most people who are fans of Disney don't mind the extra fees. Interestingly enough, although the price of the cruise itself is usually more, Royal Caribbean, for example, their gratuities are more than Disney Cruise Line. Just this past November, Royal Caribbean raised the price of their gratuities from $18 per person per day to $18.50 per person per day for most staterooms. Now, suites and concierge, well, they're a little bit more, but the standard price was $18 to $18.50 a day, where Disney has been charging $14.50 per person per day for the past several years. Well, Disney said they're going to follow in Royal Caribbean's footsteps, and they've raised the prices of gratuities. That $14.50 per person per day has now gone to $16 per person per day. This is for the non-concierge staterooms, not your suites, the regular interiors and ocean views and balcony staterooms. Concierge guests went from $23.50 per person per day to $27.25 per person per day. And I just have to stress that this is per person. It doesn't matter the age, from infants all the way to adults. Per person per day, this is the suggested gratuity price. Now, we mostly know that you can change the price of your gratuities. It's something that's already added once you arrive on board, or you can pay them before you get on board, but the gratuities are already there as a charge waiting for you. And you can go down to guest services sometime during your cruise and have them removed or have them increased or decreased. But that is the standard suggested rate. Just to give you some context of what this means, the new $16 per person per day fee for the gratuities on a 7-night cruise for a family of 4, that family would pay $448 for gratuities instead of the price they would have paid before, which was $406. For comparison, that same family taking a Royal Caribbean cruise in the same light category would pay $518 for the week. As you see, there can be some difference in the savings. Do you feel it's worth it to pay maybe a much more elevated price for the entry, a premium price to get on the cruise line, and then a lower price for the gratuities? Or how do you feel about this? I mean, what can we do about those gratuities increasing? The people on board our cruise ships are hardworking. They're there to make our cruise experience even better, and they definitely deserve it. but I would love to know your thoughts about these gratuity increases. Do you usually prepay your gratuity so it's just out of the way before you even get on board the ship? Do you wait and just have them bill it to you? How do you do your gratuities? I would love to know. Please do drop that down in the comments below. Our next story takes us over to Carnival Cruise Lines. They have reminded all of their passengers that there is a very strict rule about what you can and can't do if you have a balcony cabin. Now, some of us might say this is a no brainer, and others might say, what's the big deal? But Carnival is coming out and saying, don't forget, you're not allowed to do this on the balcony. And what is that you're absolutely not allowed to do on the balcony? Because others might see it and it's not a good look. Hang your wet clothes, of course. Yes, once we get on the cruise ship and pay for that balcony stateroom, we think it's our own private space during that time. Well, yes and no. There are still rules that we have to follow, and hanging wet clothing on your balcony is absolutely a no-no. We're talking about swimsuits, towels, or anything else. They're not to be hung on the balcony. John Heald, which is the cruise line's brand ambassador, well, he got on Facebook just to remind us of that very thing. He reminded us that most cruise line showers, well, they have a line that is in there so that you can hang up your wet clothing. And although people say it just doesn't dry that much inside of there, and if you could take it out on the balcony and get that good sea breeze, it would dry so much better. They're saying absolutely not. His statement read, no, this is absolutely not allowed for very, very important safety reasons. And I know that once the cabin attendants come to the cabin that morning, they will be removed. There seems to be a bit of controversy as people were kind of firing back and saying, well, we'll just put them out there for a little bit. They'll dry quickly. But like John Hill said, if cabin stewards come and find them, your items will be removed. I'd love to know your thoughts about this. Please do drop it down in the comments below. Our next story takes us over to Norwegian Cruise Lines. Norwegian Cruise Lines is letting us know that there will be free Wi-Fi for certain passengers. Now, this is part of their More at Sea program, which recently launched. On January 1st, Norwegian's Free at Sea package became what's called the More at Sea package. Included with this package is 150 free minutes of Wi-Fi for all guests. Also included is an unlimited open bar with premium liquor, specialty dining credits, and more. Going forward, Norwegian Cruise Line has stated that if you're taking a cruise of more than 12 days, you will get 300 free minutes of Wi-Fi instead of that 150. So they've doubled the time if your cruise is over 12 days. If you are someone who often gets the Wi-Fi package when you're on your cruise, this could actually be a substantial savings to have 300 free minutes of Wi-Fi. Do you usually get Wi-Fi when you go on your cruises? I have to admit that I usually do not. Even though I vlog my adventures, I usually do not. Sometimes I do. But Wi-Fi can be pretty expensive depending on how long you're aboard the ship and which cruise lines you're on. Would this be something beneficial to you to have 300 free minutes of Wi-Fi if you're taking one of those long cruises, 13 days or more? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop that down in the comments below. Our next story takes us back over to Carnival Cruise Lines for their announcement about their age restriction policy. This is if you have minors traveling with you, and it also touches on a loophole that many have been able to get away with when they're traveling with minors. Here's how it goes. In order for you to travel on your own on a Carnival cruise ship on the day of embarkation, you have to be at least 21 years old or older. So if you're younger than 21, there has to be an adult there with you in that room. Well, that's at least what the policy was supposed to state. Unfortunately, there was just not a firm guideline on where the guests needed to be. For instance, you had 2 adults and 2 teenage children. Well, let's say mom and dad wanted to be in the room on their own, so they were in their room, and then they put the 2 teenage children in the other room across the hall. Well, you can see already that those 2 teenage children might be able to get away with a lot more noise making, shenanigans, and other stuff with the parents not even knowing. That's all changed beginning February 1st. Guests 20 or younger must travel with either a parent or a legal guardian. In order for a minor to be booked in a terrazza or a cabana stateroom, they have to be at least 12 years old. And all that's not necessarily so new. What is new is where these minors have to be located. The new policy is stating that anyone 14 years or younger must be in the same stateroom as their parent or legal guardian, or they must be in a stateroom that's directly connected to it with that connecting door. And of course, as I stated, that parent or legal guardian must be at least 25 years old. Guests between the ages of 15 and 17, well, they can be separated by that legal guardian, but no more than 3 doors down. And guests 18 through 20, well, they still can be in a stateroom, wherever they need to be placed. They don't have to be connected by that door or 3 doors down, but their reservation does have to be linked to their parent or legal guardian. Previous to this, many parents, as I stated, would have their children like across the hall or across and down the hall or possibly even on another floor. That's no longer going to be the case. An example of what Carnival is saying a lot of parents would do, they would book a balcony stateroom for themselves and then book a less expensive interior stateroom for their children. The balcony maybe was on the left side and the interior was on the right side, or just the opposite. That's not necessarily going to be the case now. Well, during the booking, of course, the parent would have it as one parent and one child in one room, one parent and one child in the other room because of the age. Let's say if they were teenagers. But once they got on board, they would have the stateroom cabins switch it up. Parents on one room, kids in the other. This is no longer permitted, and stateroom attendants, they're on the lookout. They've been told, be on the lookout for having this switch up, and you were to notify them. Absolutely not. Can't do it. This policy change can definitely be in response to people complaining about unruly, loud, and obnoxious kids being what we would consider unsupervised. But others speculate it could be the loophole for the Cheers package. As you know, alcohol and beverage packages cost additional money, and the Cheers package, which is the alcoholic beverage package, can be very pricey. And the rule is if one adult in the room purchases the Cheers package, then every adult in that room must purchase the Cheers package. And on Carnival, it doesn't matter if you're like not a big drinker, allergic, or something of that nature. If one adult purchases it, the other adult has to do the same. Well, that loophole, of course, would be that scenario I gave you that the parents would split up into different rooms. So then they would get the Cheers package for the adult in that room, but the minor, of course, can't get the Cheers package. They were able to get the bottomless bubbles package. That's the package with sodas and soft drinks, things of that nature, which cost less. So this sharing, this little workaround or loophole, well, they're kind of cutting that out with this new age restriction policy. I would love to hear if this is something that will affect you on your next Carnival cruise. Are you traveling with teenagers? Does this make a difference to you now that your children have to be, or the youngsters that you're with would have to be connected to your room or no more than 3 doors down? What are your thoughts on this? I would love to hear it. Please do. Drop it in the comments below. I have 2 more cruise news stories for you today. And both of these stories, my goodness, they're quite interesting. But before I get to them, I'm taking this opportunity to invite you to subscribe to the channel. We would love to have you as part of the Right Recipe for Travel family. All you have to do is tap down on that subscribe button. It costs you nothing. You are then part of the family. We'd also love it if you liked our videos to give us a like, and also tap down on that notification bell. This gives us a little boost on that YouTube algorithm. It says, hey, these videos are worth watching, and they're pushed out to more people. It's great support for the channel. Also, if you'd like to support the channel in other ways, take a look down in the description. We have an Amazon store, we have merchandise available, and also we have Patreons and memberships. So take a look down there in that description. I thank you so much for all of your support. All right, let's get back to these very interesting stories we have. Our next story takes us over to Princess Cruise Lines. Now, this is their brand new ship, the Star Princess. It's not even completely built yet. This is over at the shipyard, the Fincantieri shipyard over in Monfalcone, Italy. Hopefully I said that right. Well, this next Sphere-class ship is being built, and there was an altercation on the ship between two of the workers there. Now, what we're hearing is that these are two Bangladeshi workers, one 24 years old and one 28 years old. Well, on Monday, January 20th, it was noted that the 24-year-old Bangladeshi worker took what is noted as a fruit knife, about 4 inches long, and stabbed the 28-year-old Bangladeshi worker. We have no idea what it was all about. It seems like it was some kind of personal argument or altercation that happened between the two. Now, the one who was stabbed, he was taken to the hospital and he did require stitches, but it was not life-threatening. And the one who stabbed him was arrested on aggravated assault charges. There was a statement given by Fincantieri, and they, of course, condemned these ridiculous actions. The ship continued to be built. There were no substantial delays because of this altercation, and it seems like it's just continuing on. That's a wild story. Any of us who've been on a job know that things can get heated at work, but we should never take it to that level where we are allowing ourselves to get so angry and heated that you are attacking someone. Let's keep the person who was injured, let's keep them in our prayers. Our final cruise news story, it takes us over to P&O Cruises Australia. Well, they had a video that went viral. Most of us enjoy when videos go viral. That means you're getting lots of views, lots of comments, but not necessarily with this video. This was a Christmas theme parade aboard their ship. And this is what the crew members came out looking like. Remind you of anything? This happened aboard the Pacific Explorer during a sailing from Melbourne to Tasmania, and that departed on December 19th. What we can see here in this picture are crew members in all white outfits with white gloves and pointed hoods. Unfortunately, this kind of garb reminds us of a supreme hate group that a lot of us know here in America. Maybe they don't know it everywhere, but many people were astonished when the crew members walked out. Reports say it was stunned silence when they came out to do this Christmas parade dressed like this. Now, the cruise lines themselves says, hold on, guys, that's not at all what we would do. Why would we do something like that? They're supposed to be snow cone hats. As soon as the staff and the crew were notified of the horrified gazes, immediately they were asked to get out of those costumes, get out of that. P&O issued an apology, stating here that they acknowledge an incident of inappropriate dress on board the Pacific Explorer, which has caused distress, and they wish to be clear that this was not the intention of the crew. P&O states that they only came out and they were visible for just a very short time before they realized what was going on, and they got them to take off these costumes. P&O also says that the crew members were horrified when they found out what was going on. P&O said they sincerely apologized and meant absolutely no offense. I know how I would have felt if I was on that cruise. I would have been mortified and then angry. But we all make mistakes. And as they stated, they did not have any intention of this happening. They didn't mean to have this kind of connotation. They were supposed to be Christmas snow cones. Oh my gosh, this is so wild. I would love to know your thoughts on this story. Please do drop it down in the comments below. Anybody ever been on a P&O Australian cruise? I'd love to know more. Well, that is the cruise news stories for today. I thank you so much for joining us, and we will catch you at the next adventure.